What has food waste got to do with tiny towns? And up there when Rona listed out the categories, there was one category called waste minimisation. Now that has been changed now, and it is sustainable resource and waste management. And it carries, I think, about 50 points now. It's jumped massively up that category. So it is an important one. And all tiny towns will be kind of at the same stage. They will be kind of, wondering what I'm going to do with this category, what's it all got to do with. And it's got to do with, it's not just what goes in the bin. You think of waste, think about what goes in the bin, but it's about saving energy, it's about saving water, and it's also about cutting down on the waste that goes in the bin. So it is an important part of tiny towns. This evening I'm going to concentrate on the food waste and just to kind of do a little bit of the brown bin rollout as well in relation to what Stanley has said. We might park the water for another night. So anyhow, the world currently produces enough food for all the citizens. Hard to believe, and we're hearing lots of stuff going on all the time about people starving in the world. So there's 7 billion of us at the moment. 925 million people in the world undernourished. While on the other hand of it, the number of overweight and obese people across the developing world rose to 1.5 billion. Now these figures are a few years old. But yet, if we balance it all out, there is enough food to feed everyone. But this part of the world, we tend to waste an awful lot of food. What the figures show us that globally, 1.3 billion tonnes of food is wasted annually. In Ireland, 1 in 10 people live in what they call food poverty. And yet, the majority of us throw out, it's 80 kilos, I think your bag of sugar, 80 kilos of food waste every year. So while people are hungry and starving and can't have food on the table, yet we're throwing out a massive amount of food. So that's what we're going to talk a little bit about tonight, is the food we throw out, and to maybe look as a community, to see as part of Tidy Towns, is there a way that we can work through the schools and through maybe with some of our families, some of our estates, to see if we can cut down on food waste. We've done this in Ballina last year. We ran a Stop Food Waste Challenge with 12 families to try and get them to cut down their food waste. And over 6 weeks working with us, they cut down their food waste over 40%, and so saved themselves a lot of money in that as well. So, but if we don't do it, and we keep going the way we're going at the moment, in just 17 years, we need 2 Earths to keep us going, not 1. All right, so we're things have really turned around, and our consumption has really, really increased. So that's why these things are appearing in the likes of the Tidy Towns competition, where you had these categories now all about waste prevention and cutting down on waste, because it is quite serious, the level of consumption we are at in the world. So waste is kind of wasted everywhere. You have the food producers, the fish farming, all the sort of stuff that goes on. There's food that never kind of makes it to the plate, or even makes it into the, makes it even to the factories. Then, of course, in the factories, the food production side, there's lots of stuff lost there as well. And then you have, the kind of things like hospital canteens, where there's a massive amount of waste. You have school canteens, you have hotels like here. It's all, everyone produces food waste. But for you this evening, I think it's really about what you can do at home. You can't change what everyone else does, but you certainly can do what you can change what you do at home. Sometimes we go around and we do food waste audits, and we would go into businesses and we would go in after their breakfast service or after lunch service, and we would look at all the food and we'd measure it all out. It gives a really good idea of what we actually are throwing out. But at home, we throw out in our homes 1/3 of all that we buy. So it adds up to a nice bit of money at the end of the year. Just lots of different things, not shopping properly, not maybe kind of cooking portions right, maybe cooking too much, all of the things. And it all adds up. So about 1/3 of all the waste that's thrown out in this country actually comes from us in our houses. So while there is waste thrown out, from the industry and manufacturing and from the retail at the hotels, but 1/3 of it actually comes from ourselves. And what we throw out as householders, it's that's a 10-metre high shed with that pile at the side, it's that multiplied by about 8,500. All right? So if you take that pile, multiply it by about 8,500, that's what we throw out as householders, just from our own homes in food every year. So it's a massive amount of food that we throw out. It can cost about €700 a year on average Some houses it might be lower than that, but it can be up to €1,000 in a year on food that we throw out. The price of a good holiday, you know, nice stay down here in Hotel Westport, we get a nice day for it, you know. So what are we throwing out? Because I make people say, oh, we don't throw anything out in my house. Not a thing, we don't throw a thing out. But on average, we all are throwing out food. So what are we throwing out? 3 types of waste, all right? There's the avoidable stuff, and that's 60% of it's avoidable, and that's plate scrapings, leftover, gone off fruit and veg, things that are past their expiry date, perishables that we probably didn't use up in time. That makes up the bulk of it. There's the things that are potentially avoidable. So, for example, some people will be cutting the crusts of the sandwiches for the kids going to school, or if I had a baked potato, I love the skin of the baked potato, while other people would say, no, where would be the skin? So that's what I call potentially avoidable. It's a personal taste. And 20% is unavoidable, and this is where the brown bin comes in and Stanley comes in. You're always going to have food waste that you can't cope with. So, for example, banana skins, chicken bones, that sort of thing, that you're going to have to dispose of. Your compost bin at home will take so much, but it's not going to take the the dairy stuff and the meat stuff. So you do need this brown bin, and it's great the service is coming and will be here in the town. So what are we throwing out? What's in that 60%? The spuds is the most vegetable that we throw out. Now you'd be thinking maybe the raw potato in the bag and it's sprouting, we all do a bit of that. But think of them cooked. Think of all the ways we cook potatoes and how they can get thrown out. So be it too much mashed potato, whatever it is you cook, and just cooking too much of it and not using the leftovers afterwards. So potatoes are the most vegetables. The bananas and the apples are the most fruit that we waste. Does anyone ever freeze their bananas? You can freeze bananas very, very well. Just peel them, pop them into a little plastic bag, throw them into the freezer. Very handy if you're making banana cake, banana muffins, smoothies for the kids at home. I find this really handy. But a lot of times people see the bananas turning black and they will throw them out. Salads, 50% of what we buy we throw out. So you take a bit of a health kick on a Monday, you get your salads and your bits and pieces. You really need to watch out for things like these, the 2 bags of salad for the price of 1. You just have to work out, are you going to use it, and to think more about it. And salads includes all the whole range of things. So again, if you buy a cucumber, are you going to eat the whole cucumber? It's really about getting organised and planning ahead. And bread, 20% of all bread and bakery items is wasted. And a lot of people would say to me, yeah, that's the one I'm really bad at. So that could be your cakes, your pastries, your sliced pan, whatever it is. 20% of it ends up into there. And even the expensive things like meat and fish, 10% of them are dumped as well. So that's how it all adds up. And the dairy, even throwing out yogurts, milk, that sort of thing, letting yogurts expire, afraid to eat them then, down the drain. So how much does it cost? How do you get to that figure of €700 or €1,000 in the year? Every carrot, 12 cents. Every slice of bread, 10 cents. You can work it out when you throw half the loaf out. Your half your head of lettuce, 50 cents. Even a slice of ham, 30 cents. Tiny little bit of milk, 10 cents. An orange, 40 cents. And you can go on and on and on, about the things that cost. But again, they're the main culprits. So it isn't long adding up, and you see the carrots sprouting in the bag and you end up throwing them out. So it's financial, and that's a great way to sell this message to people, because if you get people to cut down on their food waste, well, then it's good for you from Tidy Town's point of view, because you can, in your category for your sustainable resource management, if you can show that you have got X number of families in Westport to cut down on their food waste, then that gives you points. For them families, that's a financial reward. From my point of view, it's an environmental reward in the sense that there's less food waste going to landfill, there's less food waste having to be transported to composting factory, so you have less environmental damage. But for most people, the way you'll sell this is financial. You just think of someone coming and stealing the food waste out of the boot of the car, or stealing your food or your shopping out of the boot of the car, you wouldn't be too happy about it. So, as I said, we did this challenge down in Ballina, and we looked at awareness and getting people organised and how they store food and how they shop for the food and how they serve the food. And we looked at all different things to get them to cut down on food waste. The first way you really can do it, and it ties in very well with the brown bin coming in. If you haven't got your brown bin already, you will be getting a caddy, all right, kind of a large caddy or a brown bin for outside. Well, lots of houses will go and they'll choose something like this. There are a few examples up here, but you can get any sort of lidded container. Stanley, sit here. Stanley, are you doing your own bags, your own compostable bags? You are. To put in your caddy, you need a bag. But the bag has to go off the composting factory and be able to break down with the food. It isn't taken out of the bag once it gets there. And you can buy compostable bags, but there's lots of different ones on the market. So what Stanley's going to do here is going to have his own bags, so he knows it's the right bag and all that. So if you're with that contract, then the bag will be part of it, or you'll sell them locally, or you have your own ones that people will choose. So you line your little caddy with the bag like this, and just separate out your food. Maybe it's good exercise to get into now, even before the brown bin comes in, just to separate out your food and to see how much you're throwing out each week. And a good way to do is write it down. If you've been ever involved in trying to manage your weight or go to a weight management class, they'll say record everything you eat. So now we're going to say record everything you throw out in relation to food and see why you're throwing it out. And I brought some sheets with me tonight. I'll leave them out later on if anyone wants to take on the challenge and do this and jot down what they're throwing out. But identify the reasons. So I cooked too much rice, I cooked too much pasta. The young fella didn't come home for the dinner when he was meant to. He was late from home for the football match. I thought we were having visitors, we didn't. There's only 2 of us in the house now. I don't know if I'm still cooking, and there's 6 of us in the house. Write down the reasons why you throw out your food waste. And once you do that, it gives you kind of an idea of what's gone wrong. So you might say, I bought 2 bags of oranges because they were on special deal, or 3 punnets of grapes, or whatever it was, and I didn't use them. So just kind of look at the reasons why we're throwing, why you throw out food waste. A few little things that will help you, and before I chat about the brown bin, these are there's different gimmicks, different products out there. These are ethylene bags. Has anyone ever heard of ethylene? Ethylene is a gas that's produced naturally by fruit and vegetables, fruit in particular, as they ripen. All right, and I would always have stored the lettuce and the tomatoes together. All right, some foods produce ethylene, some absorb it. All right, if you put the ones that produce and the ones that absorb it together in the fridge inside the press, you'll over-ripen everything too quick. All right, so we often store things incorrectly. So again, I put a few things for you this evening, and I leave them out. And again, if you want to work with any of your groups, they're good things to have. One is how we store things. It's amazing the amount of people who actually don't know how to store things, put things in the fridge they shouldn't, and don't put things in the fridge where they should put them in it. I have a little piece about best before dates and use by dates, because people are very confused by it. And sometimes they're throwing things out, but they don't really throw them out at all. The likes of best before date, it's, food will be fine after that date. The use by is the one for more perishable items. And but the ethylene, things that produce ethylene, would be the likes of tomatoes. All right, the ones that absorb it are lettuce. So if you store them together, you spoil your lettuce a lot quicker. Ripe bananas. If you put ripe bananas in with your fruit bowl, you'll end up ripening everything. All right, just little things like that to get into that people don't know about. But these bags, there's something I came across recently, and again, you don't need to buy anything like this, but it's just to show you, to get you thinking about it. These absorb the ethylene, so if you store your fruit or veg and stuff like these, they absorb the ethylene, and your food will last longer. And a few different versions of them. So that's the bags. Stay fresh fridge balls. Throw them into the, all right? And these are the bags. Do you stock anything locally that in Westport? I see these. Where I got these was actually in the Archery stores, but I'm sure some of the supermarkets have them as well. The bags and these, you just pop them into the vegetable drawer, and they absorb this ethylene gas and make everything last a bit longer. Look, they're worth trying. I've never used any of these. I just try and keep on top of things. But just to let you know, there is things out there to help your fruit and veg stay fresh a little bit longer. So, brown bin, it is, as Stanley said, back in 2009, the likes of the hotel here would have had to get a brown bin, and it was such a new thing. It was so new. I remember going out to talks with chambers of commerce and the hotels, and you know, it's a huge change, and now it's just become second nature. And then it came in Castlebar and Ballina. Its population's over 10,000 by last year, and its population's over 1,500 from this July. And the pay by wage was meant to come in by this July as well, but unfortunately it's been pushed out by a year. But Stanley here is ahead of the legislation, so has all that in place already, which is great. But it means that you will have your 3 bins in Westport, and you will have to separate out your food waste. It is law for your waste collector to provide the service, but it's also law for everyone to use it. So no harm getting into the habit of separating out the food now. But from the 1st of July 2015, you will no longer be able to put food waste in your landfill bin. So 2014 it came in for the other towns, but 2015 is coming in here for Westport, 1st of July.